we always like before getting into the business integrative connection, which we'll get all into that. We first like to start out just by learning more about, you two as individuals, just to provide us a background on who you are before we get into, what you've created. So if there's anything you've like to share, just please get into it.
Sure. I guess I'll go first.
Awesome.
So I'm Stacy. I spent co-founder with Ashley, and I spent most of my career managing recruitment teams in corporate with investment banking and other, within the financial sector and other kinds of corporations. And my focus was kind of filling the talent gap within those organizations, kind of building internal kind of recruitment functions, if you will. Okay. And I kind of, I guess you would say, segued into the executive boutique search realm when I moved out to LA. Okay. And I guess both of the kind of, experiences combined lended itself to what we built, calling it the IC platform, which I think was what made the experience kind of unique for me.
Okay, and you said IC platform. What's that exactly?
So the IC platform is what we've built, Integrative Connection.
Which, I see.
Yeah.
So I totally just heard the word IC.
Yeah. So sometimes we refer to it as IC.
So. IC. Okay, absolutely. Gotcha. So you've obviously had a career in this space for a very long time, and we'll expand on how you have transitioned into your own space. So that's amazing. And Ashley, do you want to share anything about your personal background, anything about yourself, just to give some insight?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Ashley, the other co-founder of Integrative Connection. Like Stacy, I'm a former New Yorker, moved to LA. So we actually have very similar backgrounds, which is interesting. So we didn't meet until our later lives in LA. But I spent my career in New York, starting out in investment banking, financial services, doing recruiting and talent acquisition, really focused on building teams and working closely with hiring managers. Okay. And a theme I've seen throughout my career is that I've always come into a structure that was a little loose and kind of looking for some process and improvement. So that was really my foundation. After that, I spent some time establishing the HR and recruitment function at a health and wellness startup in New York. Okay. So that's a little bit of that startup, which is completely different than working in financial services.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, so completely different environment, different personality, different kind of way to get things done. And then when I moved out to LA, I became head of recruiting at a talent agency. So that's that entertainment experience. So really, like Stacy, my background has always been in HR and leadership recruitment, leadership roles. Focused on growing teams, being a partner to business leaders. One thing that I found is that no matter where I am, there's different personalities, it's different industries, but what always drove me is being someone who plays a role in someone else's success. That's what I always really enjoyed about the role.
I love it. There's a very fulfilling aspect of that. I'm sure. So that's cool. So you've just, you have your backgrounds in these similar spheres. You've kind of had very similar experiences, but also occasional differences. And then you just kind of came together and met. So that's fate does that sometimes. It works with us, it seems, which is pretty cool. So now that we know more about your past roles, so walk us through what it was like, transitioning into your own business. And we'll get into the details of what Integrative Connection really is, but like, what were these beginning stages and what was it like? And like, how did you two end up, coming together and forming this, the beginnings to this idea?
Sure. So I think we both always had a passion to create something and do an entrepreneurial venture, let's say. And we had ideas separately about what that looked like for each of us. And Ashley was my client when I was working for the boutique search firm. She had said she had worked for a talent agency, and that was where it was. And so we kind of hit it off based on a few things, similar stylistically, similar backgrounds. Obviously, the New York thing didn't hurt.
Yeah, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. So we kind of just felt a connection on many levels. And I think that we really had a vision for what we wanted to do, at many points in our life.
Right.
I think what really brought us together was COVID, right? So Ashley had been not working; her consulting assignment had ended.
Okay.
I had been furloughed from a job as a VP at a staffing firm.
Okay.
And we were sitting at lunch together and talking about just all the challenges that people were facing during COVID, and then what we were facing.
Right.
And I was talking about what I was planning to do, and she was kind of talking about what she was planning to do. And it kind of just intersected. And I was like, well, why don't we do this together? And then I guess I would say that's how IC was kind of born that day.
Right.
That's kind of as simple as it started.
No kidding. It was quite literally like an aha moment where you just finally, I guess the puzzle pieces came together and you just realized that this is something you can do, and your combined talents obviously work extremely well together. And so that was the day, That was the day Integrative Connection was essentially born, right? Just
serendipitous moment. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And again, bringing it back to kind of like fate in our roles, just, COVID happening and forcing you to initiate change. Myself personally, I was forced into change, and I'm so happy about that, because I think we can often, not neglect change, but overlook it possibly. And it's cool to see how, something that, like COVID, that is negative ended up transitioning into something, for yourself rather positive in that aspect, of course. So that's really cool. So, now that we kind of have the background of who you are and how the idea of Integrative Connection was born and manifested, let's learn more about IC. Let's, get into some of the services you provide, exactly what you offer. And, before we get into that, I love here what's on your website, where it says empowering leaders to build their dream team, empowering people to get their dream job. I think that's a wonderful, nice summary of what you do. But if you want to expand on that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So that's really like our tagline, right? So we do coaching for individuals and also work with high growth organizations. So it is like that twofold service category. So just kind of touch on the career coaching aspect first, which is sort of where this all came about, really understanding what do people need right now. This job market isn't normal. No one's ever seen anything like this. And we felt like we were uniquely equipped with the tools based on our experience to help people. So that's really where that aha moment came from, like our true passion to really help individuals. So the career coaching is typically for someone who's in the job market. So there's industries and jobs that are now obsolete and aren't there anymore. So we work with them to understand how to navigate the current environment. That's not just the job market. We have a very holistic approach. So your job is one aspect of your life, but when you lose it, it affects so many other areas. It's your financial health, mental health, you're working from home, your routine it's how do you navigate your world through job loss? So we kind of tap into all of those aspects.
Okay.
And then it could also be for high potential individuals. So someone who's currently working, but they figure out their next step, but they're still at the mercy of the current job market. How do they do that? So we really figure out what an individual is good at, and we walk them through our specific process and all of our tools to really get them to whatever their desired result is. We really like to meet clients where they are and really help them through that. We also offer a ton of free workshops and tips. So it's kind of like we focus on what are your strengths? What do you enjoy doing? How can we apply that to the job market?
Okay.
And our other service is our boutique service for high growth companies. Okay. So we focus kind of in the startup space for companies that are looking to grow and expand their teams within those core corporate functions. So that can be anything from key talent, that's a CFO, a head of people, head of talent, a chief marketing officer. So anything from the top level down we really want to be part of that process of building up their team and their culture and really help support the build out of that vision that they have.
The only thing I would add to what Ashley said is the search firms are known for one thing, generally speaking, and so are career coaches. Search firms just fill a job, right? So a company engages them and they come in and they fill a job. And IC does do that. So we are definitely engaged and we do that. But our differentiating factor, and we don't publicize it this way, we've changed the model. It's evolved quite a bit, as you know, from the last time we've even spoken with you. What we do is once you become a client of ours, it becomes more of a partnership. So what I mean when I say that is, yes, we fill a job, but we're also there through the full employee life cycle. So we will help a company, and we work in tandem with a company that provides corporate workshops, and they do everything from, harassment prevention, training, which will be like an annual training that companies are, required to provide for employees, to COVID training, where everyone's struggling to get people, connected, and how do people manage through this, to leadership development training, and all sorts of different things that people are really taking on to. So supporting companies through the life cycle by giving them, development workshops, and also ensuring that the person that we place there is successful. So Ashley and I really checking in with them, making sure that they're transitioning well. Are there any issues? How can we help support them, in the onboarding process? Just generally, how's it going?
Right. Okay.
And then the last piece would be if they are to have, a reduction in force or have to do a layoff, which we know so many people are having to do right now, we provide, outplacement services, which if people aren't familiar, there are a lot of large companies that do it, and they charge a lot of money, and it's a lot of times unattainable and unaffordable for companies. What Ashley and I have built is a program that we like to call a la carte services. So we will customize for each employee. So if they just need maybe a resume rewritten and their LinkedIn profile, or just want a couple sessions with Ashley or I, or we have also a team of people that we've partnered with that can help us if it's a high volume and a larger company. So we have a really good infrastructure that we've built to support a company through a time like that, but not break the bank, and to really have a customized individual approach so that when they are making that tough decision and they have employees that they're going to let go, that they can maintain their brand, they can maintain, a good relationship with the outgoing employee, and still set off on a good note and help them. And that person's going to leave. And it's the difference between leaving and saying, have a really bad taste in their mouth, or leave and say, you know what, they made a really tough decision, but they set me up with these really nice, professional, people that helped me, that cared about me, that got me set up, that told me about the market, that taught me how to interview virtually, and connected me with other people going through the same thing, and gave me a personal branding training, and so on and so forth. So that's how it goes to full end. So our model is unique, and like I said, that it's really a partnership model versus just dropping a person in a seat.